Welcome everyone to the weekly analysis video on MIVAN charts. Starting with SPY. SPY printed another bullish candle on Thursday session, though it opened the gap down and closed right around 20 EMA and 200 SMA. It took support from this inverse fair value gap zone to move up on Thursday session after opening gap down, but still closed below this bearish fair value gap area, also below this resistance level under 20 EMA and 200 SMA. In a best case scenario, if you close around 662.62, the lower high of this downtrend, then any pullback to test the support would help form a higher low. If we get rejected from this resistance or from this moving averages, then the downtrend will be intact. Looking at the hourly time frame, as we discussed on Wednesday's intraday price action analysis video, price took support from this hourly fair value gap level after opening gap down. We move into 5 minutes time frame. We can see a Morningstar candlestick pattern formed on 5 minutes time frame at this fair value gap level, and then it broke the high of Thursday session at that point of time, forming a fair value gap. Later it did not even come and test this level, it just moved all the way high to test this resistance level again. That was almost $10 move from 647 to 658 within an hour. Then the market consolidated for the rest of the day. Right before the closing of the session, it broke out of this consolidation, formed a fair value gap level on 5 minutes time frame. Looking at the 15 minutes time frame, price dipped into this fair value gap zone and then printed a bullish engulfing candle, then moved all the way up to test this supply zone on 15 minutes time frame, then consolidate for the rest of the day. Right around the closure of the session, price took support from 20 EMA and formed another Morningstar candlestick pattern. Price is currently sitting at this major resistance level, which was tested twice already. If we go and break above, we'll go and test the 658.5 level, followed by this 659 level. If we break below this support level at 652.6, then we'll come and test this fair value gap. Looking at the weekly time frame. So on a weekly time frame, it printed a bullish piercing candle, and the volume also above average, though we had a short trading week last week. So we may go and test this resistance around 667, 20 EMA on weekly time frame, or even 676. We break this resistance level or consolidate for some time before breaking out, we may see inverted head and shoulder. As earlier mentioned, if we reject hardly from this resistance or from this moving averages, then we will come and test this area at 613 followed by 600. Moving on to Microsoft. Microsoft still in a downtrend, but after invalidating this gap on last week's session, it printed a bullish candle on March 31st, the month end, which forms an inverse fair value gap. And then on Thursday, it tested that inverse fair value gap and printed a bullish candle. We have a resistance at 381, and above we have at 392.5. If we go and break above this lower high around 414 to see a change in trend. If you see a rejection from this fair value gap, or from this moving average, or from 20 EMA, which are aligning to this resistance level, and we'll come and test this swing low of 343. Looking at the weekly time frame, and the weekly time frame price is sitting at this support level, and looks like we have a piercing candlestick pattern. The RSI is at oversold level. Breaking below 356, we have supported 342, this swing low. We are little far away from the 20 EMA on weekly time frame. On the daily time frame, currently price is between this support level as well as this resistance. We go and see a rejection from this resistance level, then we'll come and test this swing low as well as this support level at 342. If we go and invalidate this fair value gap under this resistance, we'll go and test this fair value gap and even this resistance at 413.40. Liquidity above this high. Moving on to Navy. So NVIDIA, after breaking down from this head and shoulder pattern, it came all the way down to test this support at 164 and then printed a bullish Morbusu candle on the month end, aligning with the overall market move. Currently price is at 20 EMA into 200 SMA level and this fair value gap level. So if NVIDIA closes above 118.24 and retraces back to test this support again with the bullish reversal candlestick patterns, then we go and test 192, even this high at 211. If we see a strong rejection from this resistance level as well as this moving average resistance, then we'll come and test 151. Looking at the weekly time frame, like SPY, NVIDIA also printed a bullish engulfing candle last week after taking support from this swing low 164. So if it sustains, then the uptrend will be intact. Because even on weekly time frame also, price is trading below 20 EMA, and we are very far away from 200 SMA. But if it is a fake out, then it has to go and create a higher high here and then form higher low to move up. Looking at Apple. Apple also took support at 200 SM and printed bullish engulfing candle on the month end, leaving a fair value gap, and then on Friday it printed another hammer candle from this fair value gap zone and breaking this lower time frame downtrend, currently sitting at this fair value gap level. So if it goes and closes above 1262, comes back to retest the same level again, it will go and test this fair value gap zone. If we rejects from this fair value gap zone again, then we'll come and test 240 followed by 225. Looking at the weekly time frame. So on a weekly time frame also, Apple printed a bullish engulfing candle, but price is still below this inverse fair value gap on weekly time frame, and below 20 EMA on weekly time frame. You see a change in trend, it at least needs to take out this fair value gap like it did here. It took this fair value gap and formed inverse fair value gap, then took support from that to go and test this resistance. Likewise, it has to break this fair value gap and again retest this level with bullish candlestick formation to test this fair value gap level as well as this resistance at 280. Now looking at Amazon. So Amazon also has similar kind of pattern. It's still seeing rejection from this resistance level. If we go and close above 215 and any retracement back to test this support levels will help to test 220 and 230. We see a strong rejection from this level, then we'll come and test 196 followed by this support at 91, then this support at 184. Looking at the weekly time frame, though we printed a bullish candle, we are still seeing rejection from this moving averages at this resistance level. I'm looking at AMD. So AMD supported this support level again and on 200 SMA. Though on Monday it rejected from this value gap it formed after this fake out. On Tuesday during the month end, it printed a bullish inside bar right around 200 SMA, and then next 2 days it is printed a back and back bullish candles, invalidating this fair value gap and once again breaking this descending triangle pattern. But currently sitting at the resistance level. If you come and test this inverse fair value gap with bullish candlestick pattern, then we'll go and test this resistance at 225 followed by 251, then this ultimate of 266. If we break below this support level of between 190 and 195, then we have support at 170, this gap fill. Looking at the weekly time frame, the weekly time frame last to last week it's high rejection from this fair value gap on weekly time frame, but last week it printed a hammer taking support from this earnings gap again. If you go and take out this fair value gap in a weekly time frame, then AMD will go and even break this resistance at 266. Looks like a larger time frame up and handle. and prices at the support level. If you look in a wider time frame, it is just consolidating between this range of 267 and 195. Looking at INTC, Intel was consolidating in this range for quite some time, but then it broke out of this bull flag on Wednesday, leaving a fair value gap or inverse fair value gap, and on Friday it again printed another bullish Morbusu candle of 4.89% upside move. If it pulls back and forms bullish candlestick pattern setup here at these support levels, then it will go and test the 62 level. Looking at the weekly time frame. So on a weekly time frame, Intel printed a bullish engulfing candle right at 20 EMA on a weekly time frame. Earlier it had an inverted hammer right at this larger time frame. Trend line breakout. Looks like it will test 62 resistance, the all-time high. This candle, this bullish engulfing candle right at 20 EMA also collected liquidity below this support level and this fair value gap. Looking at core wave. So on a weekly time frame, core wave again came into its support level and printed a hammer candle around this 78.6% pip level from this swing low and swing high. So if we close above 85 and retraces back to test that support level, we climbing the 20 EMA. The trend may change to break out this trend line as well as test this resistance at 120 followed by 150. We break down below 64, 65, and we'll come and test the support at 54, 55 at the swing low. Looking at RKLB, Rocket Lab Corporation. So RKLB is at this trend line support and 200 SMA support. Correct the liquidity below this support of 65 and close right at this fair value gap level. Also, it took support at the fib level of 61.8% from this swing low and swing high. So it may go and form another higher high. This trend continues. If it break below this support of 53, then we'll come and test this swing low at 38. Looking at the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame also, this is an uptrend and printed a hammer candle right this trend line as well as this inverse fair value gap on weekly time frame. Looking at NBIS. NBIS earlier had this descending triangle breakout and retraced back to test this gap. It took support at 200 SMA and printed bullish Morbusu candle on Friday session. And it is on this uptrend, taking support from 200 SMA. It may go and test 140 is swing high. Look at the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, took support at 20 EMA as well as this fair value gap under a hammer candle. Previously, it took support from this before breaking this resistance level. Closing below a 89.5 will invalidate the setup and will come and test this 75 again, or even 63.5, the support level. We do space. So this was a long time frame downtrend. If you look at the weekly time frame, it was continuously forming lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So recently it on impulsive move to test this resistance with high volume. Then it pulled back to test this support. And last week it printed a bullish engulfing candle, taking support from 20 EM and weekly time frame. Also looks like a up and order pattern, breaking below the support of 1.8. So it invalidate the setup and intact with its downtrend. If it goes and closes above this resistance at 7.70, then the trend will change to uptrend on a larger time frame also. Now looking at monthly, it had a huge green candle on December. It pulled back to test the support, and last month it printed a inverted hammer at the support level. If this month closes as a bullish engulfing, it will be morning star pattern at the monthly time frame, but we are just at the start of the month, so we will wait for this monthly candle to close to get a look on this larger time frame trend. For now on the lower time frame like daily, looks like it may go on test 4.9 as well as 7.6. And Friday also it printed a Morbosu candle with a high volume after a so long consolidation. Thank you for watching.